Hey everyone, welcome back. Today's video is going to be the first lesson in a new chapter that we hadn't talked about right before we left. It was about congruency. And to do a quick review, in case you forgot, congruent shapes are shapes that are exactly the same shape and exactly the same size. I like to think of identical twins, right? Exact same shape, exact same size. So what I have here is two examples. If you just look, one of my pairs of shapes is congruent and the other pair is not congruent. And I'll give you a second just in your head to think about if you can pick which one is congruent and which one is not. All right, so I think that this one here, these are congruent. Right? You can see that these are the same shape. They're both triangles. They're both right triangles. It just so happens that one is reflected and the other one is standing at its normal normal orientation. But here you have, like, this triangle does not have a right angle, right? They both appear to be the same height, like they're about the same height. So they might kind of be the same size, but they are not the same shape, right? This, those are all acute angles, and this has a right angle in it. So these are not congruent. So what we're going to have today is we're going to have a bunch of shapes. They're going to ask us, hey, are these congruent or not? And if they are congruent, what type of transformation do you have to do to make the one shape reflect or flip or slide onto the other one? For example, here we go. Number one. Okay, first of all, do we think that we could make these shapes congruent, right? Are they the same shape? Yes, they're both right triangles. Are they the same size? Yes. So these are congruent. Now we need to figure out what could we do to get this shape, ABC, on top of, like, flip it and flop it and do whatever we need to do to get it to land on top of this one right here so that we have both shapes kind of stacked up on top of themselves, right? It looks to me like if we took this shape and we rotated it, right? We took it and we went whoop, and rotated it like this. We kind of rotate it, right? And we turned it so that instead of looking like this, it looks like this. That's going to be the right orientation so that it'll match up with our other one. So I think the two things we would have to do, we would have to rotate this, right? Now think about how we describe a rotation. We're taking it from here to here. We're going whoop, kind of tipping it over, like we're pushing it and tipping it over. That's 90 degrees. And that is clockwise, right? The way my arrow goes, that's the way a clock goes. We would rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. And once we had it rotated, right, if we just took this and rotated it, it would look like this. Right here, the letter A would be right there. The letter B would kind of stay where it is. The letter C would be down there. And then we would have to take that and we would just have to push it, because once we tipped it, like we just tipped it over, it wouldn't be right on this spot. We'd have to tip it over and then we'd have to push it over there. And so then we'd also have to do, when you push something, remember the fancy word is translation or slide. We'd have to slide it to the right. Okay? So these two were congruent, and to get them to match up and kind of be stacked on top of themselves, we'd have to take this one, tip it over with a rotation, and then push it over, slide it to the right, and then it could lay right on top of the other one. Okay, my next one. My art skills are obviously not the best. Ms. Purian, I'm sure, could do this better than me. These are pretty much matching up, right? The only thing, are they the same shape? Yes. Now, are they the same size? Okay, I'm not the world's greatest artist, but act like they are, right? So yeah, these are congruent. What would I have to do to get this smiley face to kind of get down here on top of this one and kind of stack on top of it? I think all I would have to do is flip it, right? I could just take it and just kind of go whoop and flop it down there. So on this one, I would just have to do a reflection, all right, over, this isn't really on a graph, over the x-axis is really what it's called. Or you could say flip it over a horizontal line, right? Do a horizontal flip or a reflection. Just take this and flip it down, and it's going to match up perfectly with that one. Okay, there's number two. My last board, this is it. This is actually a really fast lesson today, guys. There's not really any numbers involved at all. Here's three more. On number three. Whoa, wait a second. I I think I see a problem with this one. Are these the same shape? I mean, they're both kind of arrows, but are they the same exact shape? I don't think so, right? I don't think these are congruent, are they? Look how long the kind of stem of this arrow is, and look how small the stem is on this one. Are those the same exact shape? No, they are not. They're kind of the same shape. They both kind of look like arrows, but look at that. This is way longer and has a lot more area than this little guy. So these are not congruent. When they're not congruent, you don't have to describe any type of flip or turn or slide, any reflection or rotation. Anytime you would have to shrink something down or blow something up, it is not congruent, and you don't have to do all that other stuff. Okay, so that one was easy. If I'm looking at number 4, oh boy, I think we have the same thing going on here, right? Now look at this. It looks like it kind of has been slid over to the right here, but look how tall and skinny this letter L, the part of the L is. And look how small this one is, right? There's no way that's the same height. These are not the same exact size, right? They are the same shape. They're both kind of a letter L, but they're not the same size. So these are not congruent either. Not congruent. So I don't need to describe a rotation, or in this case, just a slide over to the right. These are not congruent. But my last one, I believe, is congruent. I did my best to make it congruent, right? This piece right here looks like it's about the same size as this piece right here. And this piece right here looks like it's about the same as this. So these are congruent. It is the same shape. It's a letter T. It is the same size. So these are congruent. Now, what would I want to do if I told you guys, okay, you need to take this letter T and do some flipping, flopping, rotating, sliding, turning, whatever, to get it to land on top of this one? There's a couple things you could do, right? I could see some people saying, well, you could kind of just slide it to the right. I could slide it over here, right? And then I could rotate it. I could flip it down. Rotate it. I should have said reflect it. You could do a slide or a translation to the right. And then you could do a reflection, right? Reflection over the x-axis, or reflection over a horizontal line, right? You could take it here and then you could flip it down. Or some people might be thinking, oh, well, wait a second. I was just going to do a, this is one answer, but there's a lot of answers you could pick on this one. This would work. Could you just say 180-degree rotation? Kind of, right? You could just rotate it and rotate it again. That would be pretty close. You could say 180 degrees rotation. That would get it almost in the right spot. Oops, I'm off my screen. Let me make my thing a little bit taller there. You could say that. Or I think there's also a third answer you could use. Could you have just reflected it right at the beginning? Just do a reflection right here. And then slide it to the right from there? I think that would work too, right? So you could do the reflection first. Reflection, and then you could slide it to the right. Translation to the right. So there are 3 possible options. I think they would all work. And the cool thing about these is these questions, I'm going to put some on the McGraw-Hill math site today. They're all going to be multiple choice, so you can just look at the options and you'll be able to figure out if they would be one of these 3, right? Because all 3 of those I think would work, but only one of them would be in the list of the 4 choices today. So I believe there are 6 questions that are just like this in the Big Idea, or not the Big Ideas Math, excuse me, that's the algebra class, in the McGraw-Hill Math site. I'm going to assign them to you guys. Feel free to try them out whenever you want. And hopefully we get some people trying them out and doing a good job. So if you have any questions, you can email me. But I think this is it. Thank you so much for watching, guys.